Welcome back. In our previous video, we explored our SEM dataset and cleaned it. If you haven't watched that video yet, you can find the link in the description. In this video, we are going to take the next step. We are going to calculate the key metrics used in search engine marketing analysis and add them into our data table as new columns. In the next video, we'll move this cleaned and enriched dataset into Python and start the actual analysis. Let's get started. Let's start by reminding ourselves what we are working with. Our SEM data table currently has these columns: keyword text, the search term; match type is match type, exact, phrase or broad; clicks is number of clicks; impression is number of times the ad was shown; conversion is number of completed goals like purchases, sign-ups; cost euro, total ad spend in euros; conversion value is total revenue generated from conversions; quality score is Google's quality rating for ad from 1 to 10. We will use all these columns and derive new metrics. Before we calculate anything, let's add an ID column to the SEM data. This column gives each row a unique identifier, which we will need later when we move dirty data to a separate table. Let's say adding new column to SEM data. We write alter table SEM data, add ID. ID is the name of the column. Integer identity 1,1. If I execute this code, it completed successfully. So let's see what happened first. Select all from SEM data. You see, we have now ID column and it goes like this. Alter table means we are modifying an existing table structure. We are not creating new one, but we are just adding a column. And ID is the name of the column. Alright? Integer means the column will store whole numbers. And identity 1,1 is actually, we say that start from 1 and increase every ID value by 1. So the first metric is CTR, which is click-through rate, and CTR is clicks divided impressions. CTR tells us how often people clicked on our ad compared to how many times it was shown. So if the ad is shown thousands of times but rarely clicked, the message probably isn't resonating. And it has to be between 0 and 1 because clicks cannot be bigger than impressions. It's shown thousands of times and it cannot be clicked 2,000 times because it just showed 1,000 times. So I'm gonna test the CTR for you, and later we will create a table which will include all the metrics that I'm going to show you now. But right now I just want you to show how it works. So let's say select keyword text. So I wrote the code and I will explain what it is. I choose keyword text, which is this, clicks and impressions because we're gonna do the calculation, this calculation, CTR's calculation. And the code here, let me explain this. So I'll start from here. Clicks, of course. We will convert the clicks as float. Because of the division, we want to have decimal numbers, otherwise it will be integer. So we convert clicks as float only for this calculation. And NULLIF is actually very basic code. It says turn it null if impression is 0. Okay, that's very basic. And cast means we're gonna cast all of these as name of the column CTR. So when I execute this code, you see, we have these values. So the other metric is CPC, cost per click. CPC tells us how much we are paying for each click on our ad. The formula of CPC is cost of euro divided to clicks. A lower CPC means we are getting more clicks for the same budget. A higher CPC isn't necessarily bad, but those clicks aren't converting. Then we are overpaying for traffic that doesn't deliver results. That's why we check this metric. Let's say select from SEM data. Let's run this code. Now we see them. So this is CPC. So the next metric is CVR. which is conversion rate. And the formula of CVR is conversions divided to clicks. CVR tells us what percentage of people who clicked on the ad actually completed a goal. It could be purchase, it could be sign up, or whatever we are tracking. For our example, we are looking for purchases. So it's purchase. A low CVR means people are clicking, but they're not converting. People are looking at our ad, our item, our shoes, but they don't buy it. This often points to a landing page problem. The page isn't matching what the ad promised, or it's not convincing enough. This value must always be between 0 and 1 because someone cannot convert without clicking first. So CVR can never exceed 1. So let's test it. Test CVR and select SEM data. And when we execute this code, okay, now it works. So it's like 13 times people clicked, but 0 times people purchased walking shoes. So CVR is 0. The next metric is CPA, which is cost per acquisition. The formula of the CPA is cost of euro divided to conversions. So CPA tells us how much we are spending to generate each conversation. The lower the CPA, the more efficiently we are turning ad spend into results. But the real insight comes when you compare CPA to average order value. If each conversation costs us 50 euros, but only brings us 40 euros, we are losing money. So that's very valuable insight. And to see this, we write test CPA and select, of course, keyword text divided to turn it null if conversions equal to 0 as CPA from, and we will choose all this data from SEM data. Let's run this code. Okay, there is one spelling mistake here. And let's execute this code again. Now we see this is our CPA. Making money from basketball shoes for each, we need to spend this amount of money for each advertisement. This is what it means. Another very important metric for search engine marketing is called ROAS, which is return on ad spend. ROAS tells us how much revenue we are generating for every euro we spend on ads. And the formula of the ROAS is conversion value divided to cost of euro. And let's test it first. I'll write select keyword divided to turn it null if cost of euro is equal to 0 and name this column as ROAS from SEM data. Let's execute this code. What the result tells us, a ROAS below 1. Do we have any below 1? Can we see from here? Not 0, but here. The ROAS below 1 means we are earning less than we are spending. That keyword is losing us money. The ROAS of 3 or 4 means we are getting back 4 euros for every 1 euro spent. This is one of the most direct signals of whether a keyword is actually profitable. So shoe models making 4 euros for each euro. That's what it means, and it's super valuable. And the last metric is AOV, which we talked about before, which is average order value. AOV tells us the average revenue we generate per conversion. And the formula of the AOV is conversion value divided to conversions. Okay? And let's say test AOV. The code is select, of course, keyword text Of course, CAST and select from SEM data. So let's execute this code. Oh, not conversion, it's conversion. Okay, let's execute this code again. Okay, so what the result tells us, AOV doesn't tell us a product's fixed price. It tells us the average basket value per keyword. Its real power comes when compared with CPA. If the CPA is 50 and AOV is 45, we are losing money on every sale. If CPA is 50 and AOV is 120, we are profitable. Tracking these two together makes it much easier to evaluate keyword performance. So that's why we are looking for the AOV. This was the last metric, and now we are going to create the metrics table. I just wrote this formula. We all know what they are. ID, these are from some data, we all know that. And these are the codes that we just executed, we just tested. That's why I tested before creating an actual one. So we saw each of them separately. I'm going to create some data matrix table, but later we will come back and let's write, we will come back here. In the future, right now I'm not gonna tell, but continue to watch. We will execute this code one more time. So execute this code. Of course I made spelling mistakes. Clicks, yes. Now execute this code. And when we want to see, select all from SEM data metrics. Let's execute this code. Now we see all of them. Yeah, and this is what we are looking for. We can of course round them. Let's give it as it is.
Hello again. I actually record the whole video and I wrote all the codes with you, but my microphone didn't work. So I'm recording again. I'm gonna talk about what I did. I will explain it to you, but I'm not going to write it again. So we created this one, and the next one is I wanted to clean one more time to be sure again, because now we have some metrics, and metrics, they have some logics, yes, that we might forget. We did almost all of them in the previous data cleaning video, but after I execute this code, we had 2 more rows that we need to delete. After we figure out what they are, I want to insert them into some data deleted before I actually delete them. Oh, by the way, here, why I use distinct, it's because, right now our rows have unique IDs, and one of the IDs can have more than one mistakes, more than one of these. CTR can be bigger than 1 and quality score can be bigger than 10, and as an example. If it happens, it will show us same ID but twice. To prevent this, we say distinct, so the same ID never appears again. That's the logic behind it. And for this code, I want to insert into these data, which are 2 data that needs to be deleted. But to do this, I need to execute this whole code. It's because right now, we have identity, ID column. We did this to SEM data, so I'll explain how it works. If you have identity in your table, it doesn't allow you add ID into that table. It's because the code says that I'm gonna create my own ID. I don't accept ID from outside. So how to work this? We write set identity insert to the deleted table on, work this code and set it off. But we need to run this whole code at the same time. Otherwise, like if you want to do this, it doesn't work. If you want to do this one first and this one second, it doesn't work. You have to execute the whole code together. And after I execute the code, I realize that I forget to add identity into SEM data deleted. So here I added identity column into SEM data deleted table. I also wrote it wrong. I don't know how it worked out. Anyways, and this time I deleted the so-called dirty data here from SEM data, not from SEM data metrics. It's because we create SEM data metrics from SEM data. And here, after I execute this code, I realize that there are two columns that needs to be deleted because we create the SEM data metrics from SEM data, which means that SEM data has two more rows that needs to be deleted, right? So here we deleted from SEM data. After these two rows are deleted, I dropped the SEM data metrics table, which means I deleted. It's because SEM data metrics contains still data that needs to be cleaned. Okay, I drop it, but I come back here again, as I told you before, because I knew that if we have something that we need to delete, we can drop it and we can recreate it by just executing this code. And after I execute the code, I recreated the SEM data metrics, but this time we have no dirty data. Unfortunately, my microphone stopped working. I don't know, maybe you realize that sounds different because I had a channel upgrade, which is like microphone. I bought a microphone, but I'm trying to learn how it works. So it is what it is. I hope you understand it from that video and see you on the next video.